Give me a...
Light skin, dark skin, my Asian persuasion. I got this all. That's why these girls actually hate me. So sexy. Do you like my style? Yeah, sexy, sexy, sexy. Like a bucket down. Yeah, sexy, sexy, sexy. You could work me out.
Tonight on Spotlight Montreal. Epic Mealtime is on the road to Hollywood.
Can kind of like eat it vicariously through us. That's why people love watching it so much.
The YouTube stars will be Jay Leno's guests on The Tonight Show, and Spotlight gets behind the scenes as the Montreal boys prepare their biggest feast yet.
Then, can Spider-Man survive near fatal accidents, 2 safety code violations, and some of the worst reviews of all time? Audiences are lined up around the block for the new Broadway musical, but not for the reasons you'd expect.
I also wanted to see someone fall, personally.
Plus, Arcade Fire is hot off its Grammy win. But how did the Montreal band hit the big time, and where is the indie music scene today?
I just want to say thank you, merci to Montreal, Quebec, for taking us and giving us a home.
And tonight's Spotlight exclusive, a famous Montreal deli hits center stage. Meet the creators of the up-and-coming smoked meat musical.
Where better to go than to an evil Torontonian coming in and trying to steal the original recipe.
Only Spotlight has your exclusive first look at Schwartz's The Musical.
Live from Montreal, here are your hosts, Kimberly Lamontagne and Erica Fisher.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Spotlight Montreal, where we shine a light on all your entertainment news around the city and around the globe.
And tonight, some exciting news for young Montreal filmmaker Xavier Dolan. The writer-director of J'ai tué ma mère and Cannes film favorite has a new movie in the works. Dolan has just begun a 2-month shoot for Montreal for Lawrence Anyways.
Il nous a dit, voilà, moi, un jour, j'étais au restaurant avec mon copain, puis il m'a dit qu'il allait devenir une femme.
The story is of a young man who tells his girlfriend that he wants to become a woman. Dolan will be back to shoot more scenes in the fall in both Montreal and Charlevoix. And this celluloid prodigy turns 22 next week. Happy birthday, Xavier.
The Oscars and Golden Globes may be over, but Canadians still have 2 award shows left to attend, and Spotlight has your exclusive sneak peek. First up, Canada's biggest night in film, the Genies. The gowns, the glamour, and the stars will all appear in Ottawa on Thursday for the 31st Annual Genie Awards. Montrealers dominate the Best Motion Picture category, which boasts 3 French films. Receiving noms this year is Denis Villeneuve's Oscar-nominated Incendie, Xavier Dolan's Les Amours Imaginaires, the Mordecai Richler adaptation Barney's version, and Zessé Demi, directed by well-known Quebec filmmaker Pods. Zessé Demi is about Tommy, a troubled boy placed in a rehabilitation house for delinquent youth, whose last hope is his rehab counselor. Tommy is played by 14-year-old Robert Naylor in his emotionally charged motion picture debut.
J'essaie pas de le laisser rentrer dans moi-même. J'essaie de juste faire un personnage. Et là, quand je retourne à la maison, c'est moi. C'est Tommy puis Robert. C'est pas vraiment... J'essaie pas de les mixer.
Naylor is nominated for Best Actor alongside Barney's version Paul Giamatti and Montrealer Jay Baruchel for The Trotsky. The awards televised on the CBC will also feature performances by Melissa Etheridge, Carquois, and the Royal Winnipeg Ballet. Hosting the Genies this year is Captain Kirk himself, William Shatner. Beam me up, Scotty.
And on Sunday, don't forget to tune in for Quebec's biggest night in film, Les Jeux Trois. Leading with 10 nominations is Incendie. But a big surprise this year, 2 English films were also included in the mix. Barney's version is up for 4 awards, including Best Makeup and Best Screenplay, and Jay Baruchel is up for Best Actor for The Trotsky. The awards are broadcast live from Théâtre Saint-Denis at 8 o'clock on Radio-Canada.
And now we turn to tonight's Spotlight exclusive, behind the scenes at Schwartz's The Musical.
Some say nothing goes better with a pickle and some mustard on rye bread than Schwartz's smoked meat. The beloved Montreal landmark on Saint Laurent Boulevard has been serving up classic sandwiches since 1928. But things are about to change.
Local comedy duo Bowser and Bluth thought the famous sandwich shop deserved its own musical score. Audiences can see the smoked meat delicatessen sing and dance its way to the Centaur Theatre on March 31st. But Spotlight has your exclusive sneak peek.
First, it just seemed crazy, you know, a musical about a deli.
For over 80 years, Schwartz's has served Montreal with the best smoked meat in town. Even during the Great Depression, World War II, the 70s, now in this digital age, Schwartz has managed to keep its unique style and momentum.
Obviously, it's not just a restaurant, right? It's been here since 1928. And as you see, it's snowing out there, and there's a lineup. Minus 30 will be a lineup. We're doing something right.
Bill Brownstein, a columnist at the Gazette, is a huge fan as well. In fact, in 2006, he published a book about the deli and its history and different characters named Schwartz, the Story.
My first time, I was about 5 years old. My father took me to a football game, and it was like entering another world. The place was thick with like this, like with the heat, the steam coming out of everywhere. People, mostly in the garment trade in that day, and speaking all variety of languages, about 40 different languages being spoken. It was kind of a real entry into a whole different world I hadn't been exposed to.
Schwartz, the musical, is based off of Brownstein's book. It all started when Bill, Bowser and Blue had the idea back in 2008.
Bowser and Blue, who adapted it and who wrote the music, are very good friends of mine. So we discussed, certain plot lines, certain character lines. The music is clearly all theirs. The book itself, it's a series of basically short stories of all the various characters who congregate here. But for the musical, they needed some sort of plot, and where better to go than to an evil Torontonian coming in and trying to steal the original recipe.
The play has over 60 characters. 11 actors will be playing businessmen, waiters, police officers, a pickle, pop, a fry, and mustard. What about food props? Check. I'd take a bite out of that.
The daunting thing about doing anything like this kind of a show, just other than the fact that it's a musical, is the fact that we're dealing with an icon.
Especially when it's closed, that you can see through the window and we can have people back in there milling about, you will still get a sense of that very, very long, narrow sort of deli.
Every element of the play has been meticulously crafted, like a smoked meat sandwich. Attention to detail was the priority for producer Rick Blue.
It was so hard. It was almost like it took us an hour to get every line and every chord, and hopefully it's something worth coming to see.
Schwartz the Musical will be debuting on March 31st at Centaur Theatre. It will be running for 4 weeks. For Spotlight Montreal, I'm Kevin McGraw.
I could really go for some smoked meat now.
Well, if you thought smoked meat made you hungry, wait until you see what's coming up next. All it took was some bacon and a camera for these Montrealers to become YouTube stars. Spotlight finds out how the epic Mealtime guys plan to cash in on their viral fame.
And Montreal is Canada's circus capital. And it's not just because of Cirque du Soleil. Performers from around the world say our city is the place to show off their talent.
You're the bid box.
But first, Arcade Fire won the Grammy for Album of the Year last month. And even before frontman Win Butler thanked his family, he paid homage to the city that has become his home. Montreal has become the hotspot for Canada's emerging indie artists. But it's not just alternative rock. As Alex Serbanescu found out, the city is a hotbed for indie music success in other genres, like reggae and hip-hop.
This is where the journey starts for any artist, the studio. This is a humble home studio on Goyer Street in Côte des Neiges. The man behind it, Julian Fraser, also known as Jules, charges $10 an hour for recording and mixing.
First question I want to ask you is, how come you do what you do for $10 an hour, which is a little more than minimum wage?
Because I don't have the perfect setup to charge anymore. That's one thing, and I'm in my room. And eventually I might be charging more if I can rent a bigger place.
Many independent artists from Côte des Neiges and elsewhere come to record here.
Me a blood clot sonny boy, you don't know that.
I am one of them.
What your name? Bumbo. Pretty pussy get picked like a lock, and if you don't know rasting, you feel what?
As a singer, my life is heavily influenced by the obsession of making it big. So I asked Jules whether Montreal is the right place to break through.
They're all mad at the one performing because they want to be there. So it's hard to make it because everybody hates on everybody else and everybody wants to be number one. The thing is, you should, that's what I want to do, is make it outside of Canada, Montreal, then come back, and that's when you'll get your popularity.
So what happens with the music once it's packaged and ready? I went to dancehall artist Sekou Slim's house to find out.
You know what I mean? But with a project you're doing on your own, there's lots of ways you can make money. Because number one, you're making a project, you have a CD. With that CD, you just don't bring the CD alone. You go get your t-shirts, you go get your keychain, you go get whatever you could sell with it.
But that fateful question kept coming back. Is Montreal the right place for us?
It's who you know. You know what I mean? Like if we're in Montreal, you can't expect to live your life off of Montreal alone because you know the fan base is not there. You know the market is not there. But you could base here, but you get your stuff out. That's what every other artist do.
The third and most difficult leg of the journey is when the music gets to the people it's meant to get to. The kids that listen to artists like Siku Slim and myself know that it takes money for art to develop. Money which isn't necessarily there in Montreal.
Honnêtement, déjà, on n'a même pas les moyens pour acheter les CD de nos propres artistes préférés. Alors, pour aller encourager d'autres gens, on ne connaît même pas et tout, c'est un peu... Si j'aime bien ou quelque chose, et qu'il y a un petit truc, des fois, comme je peux faire quelque chose pour lui, je le fais. Mais
on partage sur Facebook. C'est ça le maximum. Partage sur Facebook, après en écrivant moi, partagez s'il vous plaît.
So perhaps Montreal isn't all it's cracked up to be, but one thing's for certain. For the independent artist, it's not about where you are, but about where you're willing to go. For Spotlight Montreal, this is Alex Urbanescu.
And to get the indie perspective, we've invited Greg Marino and Anne Fung of the local band Thick Blooded. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
So now, when they won their Grammy, Arcade Fire thanked Montreal for making it a great place to become and develop as a band. Do you guys feel the same way? I mean, how has Montreal helped you grow?
Well, we didn't win a Grammy, but definitely thank Montreal for being very supportive. Like, all our friends really come out to most of our shows, and we've met a lot of strangers in Montreal that have enjoyed us, and yeah.
Well, I honestly think, well, I'm not originally from Montreal, so coming here was actually a big difference because I was in British Columbia, and they do appreciate music, but I feel like here it's just so much more, like there's so much more like fine arts and like appreciation of the fine arts, and although that makes it more competitive in a way, it's still, there's like this supporting community that exists, so.
Yeah, so what kind of support do you get from other musical artists in the music community in Montreal?
We aim for financial, but mostly just like fellow artistic like musicianship and like support, and lately we've been trying to like collaborate with a lot of different artists that we've met along the way, and that in and of itself is pretty rewarding because there's always something really good that comes out of it most of the time.
And I feel that people, if there's a certain level that, I don't know, once people appreciate what you're doing, there's much more support of what you're doing, and I in our experience, I think people have been willing to help us out more often because they appreciate what we're doing or they really like what we're doing. So we've had a lot of support from like even like sound engineers and just people who want to help us out without any.
And yeah, not even necessarily just musicians, but painters and like different people who are just in the arts of what they do. You know, they really like what we do. So.
Now, do you use things like social media in order to reach out and meet these other artists and engineers and things like that?
Mm-hmm. Like, we're on all that stuff like YouTube and MySpace and Facebook. We're not tweeting just yet, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I think that's a really important step in, like, especially for today, since everybody is using these, they're using Facebook and they're using what else is there? Facebook,
all these social networks,
Twitter, yeah. I think it's really important because literally everybody's on these things now, and it's important to take advantage of that since it's free and it's open to anybody, and literally anybody can have access to it these days.
Well, speaking of free, I mean, a lot of people these days are downloading their music, including fans. How do you guys think that you're going to end up making money with so many people downloading music these days?
Okay, I really have my opinion on the whole downloading thing is I really think in terms of indie music, it's a really good thing for indie artists to have people downloading music because people aren't really buying CDs or they're not really paying for music these days, and I feel like music's taking a turn and people are going to start going maybe to live shows more often, and honestly downloading music just gives musicians more exposure. So I don't know. I'm almost pro downloading music because I don't mind people downloading our music for free because then they can just say to their friends, "Hey, check out this band," and it's like it's easily accessible, I guess.
But in the end, how are you expecting to make money that way? I mean, it's great that they're listening to music, becoming fans, maybe going to a show, but I mean, it's a bit of a block there. You know, how can you expect to make this successful and make this something like a career?
Merchandise, a lot of merchandise. No, we once made a mouse pad, actually, thick-butted mouse pad, and that actually sold. But T-shirts, I also print shirts as a side job, and I don't know, different ways of.
There's a lot of options, I think, these days to make a living out of something like this without. And honestly, if people do appreciate the music enough, they'll go and buy a CD, or they'll go and support the music by, like, you know, buying some sort of something.
It's kind of like Radiohead, where they put out their stuff for free, but people like them so much that they prefer to give them money. You know, so we're trying to really impress people with what we do. So.
Great. Well, thank you both so much for speaking with me. Now make sure you stick around because Thick Blooded will be playing one of their original songs at the end of the show. Over to you, Kim.
Can't wait to see that performance. But now, let's get to a different sort of entertainment. Everyone loves a good circus, especially here in Montreal. The circus became popular after Guy Laliberté started the Cirque du Soleil in Quebec City in 1984. Ever since, circus schools and clubs have popped up all around the province. So no wonder the annual Festival Mondial du Cirque de Demain flew into Montreal last week for the second time in its 32-year history. More than 20 acrobats, contortionists, and artists from 10 different countries took to the stage to perform in the city they call the Circus Mecca.
So come on, be in a bid box.
This is the human beatbox Carole from Spain. Carole is part of this year's Montreal presentation of the Festival Mondial du Cirque de Demain.
Welcome to my head.
He adds his natural talent with a juggling act for this show. Carole's act needs the full attention from the audience, and in Montreal, that's what he gets.
But yes, it's really nice to be here in Montreal because it's kind of an important city about circus, because there's many big companies around, and La Tohu is one of the most important places in circus in all America. So it's really a pleasure to work here, and really happy because the audience here. They really know about circus. We can really feel that the audience know about circus. They used to see circus. So it's a big pleasure to play for this kind of audience because they understand, they are with us, they are happy to see circus, and they participate really a lot. In my number, I need really participation of the audience, and here I get it every night. So it's really nice.
Created in 1977, the Festival Mondial du Cirque de Demain allows artists from around the world to join together in Paris once a year for a 4-day-long competition. Artists from different circus disciplines present, and a panel of judges choose the winners. Multiple artists are awarded with gold, silver, or bronze positions. These artists are constantly reinventing themselves, and this competition allows the world to know who's hot in the circus industry at the moment. This year, the Montreal version of the show gathers winners who took part in the festival over the past 3 years. The show is presented at La Tohu, which is a non-profit organization founded by En Piste, the National Circus School, and world-renowned Cirque du Soleil.
What you get to see is the best of the best, so it's a really, really good show. It's very entertaining.
Montreal is the only city the festival travels to, and this artist isn't surprised why.
I think the audience here they are used to see circus. They're used to see a lot of different kinds of circus, and it's a good audience. They are always there with you, and yeah, I think it's, I don't know, I think it's just because they are used to see so much. Because in Norway we don't have this this circus culture. It's not even considered culture in Norway. So coming here to Montreal, it's a pleasure.
Krister presents his slack rope act that was actually a number conceived here in Montreal for the Cirque du Soleil show Windtuk. Next year's festival will take place the 26th to the 29th of January in Paris. As for a show in Montreal again next year, no decisions have yet been made. But judging on the popularity of this year's show, it wouldn't be a surprise. For Spotlight Montreal, I'm Loredana Perro.
And in Cirque du Soleil news, the company is working on its new show, Iris, set to debut this July in Los Angeles. Now let's get to your Hollywood scoop. The producers of Survivor are bringing a new reality show with a familiar format to NBC.
The Voice is a singing competition meant to rival American Idol, but the contestants on The Voice won't be judged like on the Fox reality show. Instead, they are led by a trio of singing coaches.
CeeLo Green and Adam Levine of Maroon 5 have both signed on, and tonight, Spotlight can confirm the third and final judge, none other than five-time Grammy Award winner Christina Aguilera. Carson Daly is set to host the singing extravaganza that starts on April 26th.
Now, Broadway musical Rock of Ages is getting an injection of Hollywood star power for the big screen.
Tom Cruise, Mary J. Blige, and Dancing with the Stars' Julianne Hough are all set to start filming in May.
Rock of Ages is about a couple who fall in love on the Sunset Strip and try to stay together after living the rock star life. The show is built around rock hits of the 1980s, so expect the cast to sing classics like Journey's Don't Stop Believing, Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot, and Twisted Sister's I Wanna Rock.
After years in the works, and with its official opening just around the corner, Broadway's Spider-Man musical, Turn Off the Dark, is spinning a web of disaster. After all the headlines about millions of dollars, many delays and injuries, I traveled south of the border to the Big Apple to see what the hype is all about. It takes a whole lot of money and hard work to get this looking like this. But $65 million, Broadway's most expensive production cost ever, doesn't include a safety net. The show has been controversial since it began preview showings last year. It's been slapped with safety violations by the New York State Department of Labor after a number of accidents. This one happened after an actor playing Spider-Man fell 30 feet during a flying scene in which he rescues the female lead. Directed and co-authored by Julie Taymor, the creative force behind The Lion King, with music and lyrics by rock stars Bono and The Edge, the show should appeal to fans of comics, music, and theater.
I also wanted to see someone fall, personally. No, I was kind of disappointed.
Despite bad reviews and accidents, or maybe because of them, people are lining up for this show. Brian Scott Lipton is Theater Mania's editor-in-chief.
I'd like to believe, maybe naively, even after all this time, that there were only a handful of people who were really waiting to witness somebody really get hurt. Actors get hurt in some form or another in shows. Far less complicated than this all the time. Dancers, injure their legs. People walk into walls. I mean, it happens. It's sort of a risk that you take.
Apart from injuries and the difficulty of getting any original musical off the ground nowadays, the comic book turned TV series turned movie turned musical has theatergoers flocking to Foxwoods Theater in Manhattan.
Broadway has no shortage of spectacle right now. I mean, if you look at Julie Taymor's other work, The Lion King, or Wicked, or any number of other shows, they're big, they're full of scenery, they're full of actors. This one may be a little bit, pushing the envelope a little bit more extreme because of the acrobatics involved and the circus-like nature. It certainly has a fair share of built-in demographics that could lead to a very long life. I mean, it's a popular comic book character that's beloved by people all over the world, not just Americans.
Spider-Man previews ranked third among box office grosses last week following The Lion King, which has taken in over $4 billion worldwide and continues to climb.
If it's something people want to see for whatever reason, they want to see it. And here you have so many reasons that you might want to see it, from the title character to the work of Julie Taymor to the music of U2 and Bono. For a lot of those people who those are their reasons for going, sadly, for better or worse, what the critical press says is close to irrelevant.
Spider-Man earns on average $1.5 million each week. Although this may seem like a lot, it costs roughly $1.2 million a week to produce. At this pace, it could take years to get back that initial investment of $65 million.
You know, this is traditionally the time of year where you don't expect to make that kind of money. So I think it does say something about this possibility for longevity. If you can make that kind of money in the third week of February, just think of what you can make in July when everybody is in town.
No amount of press is going to keep people from lining up for this show. All press is good press when it comes to Peter Parker. I took to the streets to find out what people thought after seeing Spider-Man turn off the dark.
Spider-Man was so creative, so innovative. It was like bringing the cartoon character to life.
I thought the storyline wasn't that great, but the stunts and sets and stuff was really good. The talent was fine. Like, it might need a little bit of work.
The best part with the battle scenes up in the air.
Broadway turns out mega musical after mega musical. But is Spidey the start of a new trend?
Even if Spider-Man fails, if somebody comes up with a different comic character, you know, they want to do Batman the musical, which is actually in the works, or, you know, the Fantastic Four the musical or whatever. If they believe they've got the key to it, they're not going to let the fact that Spider-Man didn't succeed stop them.
So Kim, you got to see the musical. What did you think?
Well, New York Times critic Ben Brantley said it might be the worst musical to hit Broadway. And while I can see where he's coming from, I don't think it was that bad. The flying was definitely cool, and Masterful Veil and the Green Goblin was my favorite. But the script needs work, and script doctors are said to be remedying this as we speak.
Still to come on Spotlight, Thick Blooded takes over our studio for a performance of their original song, Dark Days. And bacon strips, and bacon strips, and bacon strips. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you've probably never seen an Epic Mealtime video. These videos feature a group of buddies from the West Island who decided to cook the most over-the-top, artery-clogging meals they could manage and devour them on camera. Well, after uploading their creations to YouTube and getting millions of hits and followers, these guys are days away from turning viral fame into bankable success. Michael Moore takes a closer look.
Epic Mealtime at the gym. People always ask us how we stay in shape.
They are the self-professed Justin Biebers of bacon. No, the scruffy bunch of misfits in Epic Mealtime might not look or sing like the teenage heartthrob. But if food is the way to a man's heart, the 7 Montrealers in the group have already swept the internet off its feet. Epic Mealtime has become the talk of YouTube by making and eating some of the most heart-clogging, gut-exploding calorie bombs ever known to man. Their signature episode features the infamous Tur Bacon Epic, a 79,000 calorie masterpiece made of 5 birds, a pig, and an absurd amount of bacon. Their diet might not be doctor recommended, but for Epic Mealtime member Tyler Lemko, the gluttonous nature of the show is exactly what makes it so popular.
There's so many like diet crazes and like everybody in North America is like how to lose weight, that they can see us and like guys who eat like this and can stay in somewhat good shape and can kind of like eat it vicariously through us. That's why people love watching it so much, because like we can be gross and disgusting so they don't have to.
The only thing higher than the fat content in the meals is the viewer totals the group gets on YouTube. Since setting up their channel 5 months ago, Epic Mealtime's videos have been viewed a whopping 40 million times.
Like when we started, I didn't doubt that everyone would enjoy it, but I never assumed it would blow up as quickly or as huge as it already has.
Epic Mealtime's popularity is growing well beyond YouTube. They've already been booked to the St. Patrick's Day edition of The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and they are in talks with networks south of the border about turning their videos into a full 30-minute comedy show. In doing so, they're joining a growing trend of Montrealers who are making the jump from the computer screen to mainstream. Nadia Giosia turned her punk rock cooking videos into a show on the Food Network Canada. Jean Lajoie's parody songs landed him a spot on Comedy Central. And last month, radio hosts Sébastien Trudel and Marc-Antoine Odette turned their prank calls to celebrities and politicians into a deal with Viacom.
Hello, this is Sarah. How are you?
Fine, and you? This is Nicolas Sarkozy speaking. How are you?
CTV tech columnist Elias Makos thinks YouTube has become the way into the entertainment industry in the 21st century.
I think there's a lot of very talented people that know they're talented, and they're young and they're motivated, and they know that with YouTube you can get your name out there without paying for an agent or without paying for a lot of production value.
YouTube makes it even easier to pay off the production bills by sharing ad revenue with its most watched uploaders. It might only be a fraction of a penny per viewer, but the ad money Epic Mealtime gets is enough for them to pay for the hundreds of dollars they spend on groceries for every episode. Makos thinks it's a great way to help pay the bills while waiting for the real prize, catching the eye of talent scouts.
I think it's a start. All of this stuff is great to start off when you're young and you're not necessarily in it to make money. Sure, this is just a little bit of a bonus. But all those hits lead to something bigger, and people in Hollywood taking notice and people in television taking notice. And I think that's where you want to end up.
With Epic Mealtime well on their way to that goal, it might be time to chalk up another success story thanks to the power of bacon. For Spotlight Montreal, I'm Michael Moore.
Next time, we eat Billy Boots.
Mark your calendars. Epic Mealtime will be on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno just in time for St. Patrick's Day on March 17th.
Thick Blooded is preparing for the launch of their new album, but first they join us right here in studio for our own exclusive live performance. Here to perform their single, Dark Days, please welcome Thick Blooded Gregory Marino and Anne Fung. all for our show.
We'll see you back here tomorrow night. Lights out, Montreal.